So you may or may not know this, but one thing that us burlesque performers happen to be known for, of many things, is our ability to sparkle. Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Cherry Cheeks, and today, in case you didn't catch my drift, we're gonna talk about all of that sparkle. Whether or not you're brand new to burlesque, anytime you've been to a show, one of the first things you will notice is exactly how sparkly a lot of us are. Maybe you're just getting into burlesque, or maybe you're just curious and want to know, how do we do it? We already have these shining personalities that are larger than life, but often one of the things that attracts people to burlesque is that sparkle and like, oh my gosh, I can look like that, I can be glamorous, even if I'm not Dolly Parton. If you're somebody who wants to learn how to make your costumes or your face or any part of yourself sparkly and glimmer in the spotlight, let's talk about some of that. Starting off, some of the most basics I will go with first off is glitter. Glitter is one of those things that you either love it or you hate it. Even if you're someone who loves to sparkle on stage, you might really not like it. You can use it on your face. If you can, I definitely recommend getting actual cosmetic glitter. There's some really great websites that you can get it on. A lot of the things I'm talking about in this video today, I'll actually have links down below if you want to know where you can find them or purchase them. So I really like glitter as a cheap option, and it's just easy, fast. You can just put it on your face and you're good to go. It does the job. Some people don't like it. It gets everywhere. As soon as it's somewhere, you are not getting rid of it, even if you clean your house 20 times in a day. So whoever moves here after me, you're welcome. It's like a very fine dust, and it picks up so well in the light and gives just a little bit of a shimmer. That's something to be very mindful of, is not only yourself and how your performance is going to come across to an audience and how cool it could look, but also you don't want to get on the bad side of any performers who are going on stage after you. It can also be slippery if it's not cleaned up properly. It's also not something you can necessarily like glue onto your costume pieces very well. If you've ever gotten a Christmas card, you'll see that it sheds. One last thing with glitter as well is it can actually get into technical equipment and actually ruin it. So some venues actually do not allow it. Another good cheap option is sequins. Sequins are really awesome because they are so accessible. You can get them literally from any dollar store. You can get tons of them for cheap. They come in hundreds of different colors. You can either sew them onto the costumes or you can glue them. Personally, I find them more shiny than sparkly. They don't have that real glisten to them, but they are really good if you maybe can't afford rhinestones, or if you really don't care again about that sparkle, but you want to have something that makes your costume stand out. We don't always use sparkle to make our costume stand out in burlesque. Quite often it's just texture, and it's about the type of fabric you use, and it's just making your costume stand out, and there's way more ways to do that besides just using sparkle. Being shiny is one really cool way. Rhinestones are cool because it adds like a little texture. You can also get appliques. Some things to keep in mind about sequins, however, is they can get stuck on things quite easily, and if they get caught on another thing like a glove, it can sometimes tear your gloves or fray your gloves. If they fall off, they can be slippery if you step on them. Moving right along is beads. There are hundreds of different beads that you can use for burlesque. You can literally get little chains of beads like this. You can have it dangle and have really cool shapes and do really cool stuff with it. There's also some really cool stuff which is just regular beads, and you can actually sew that straight to your costume. So again, you can glue it or you can sew it, and lots of performers, myself included, love beaded fringe. So I have a bra here, and you can actually see I have beaded fringe on the bottom, and not only does it add that shimmer and that shine, but it also adds movement. Dynamic costumes are phenomenal. The more you can make them move or sparkle or shine or make them silhouette, the better. If you sew them on like fringe, if one breaks, that entire piece of thread is going. It could shoot everywhere. Most burlesque performers make our own costumes. Beading takes a long time. You have to have a lot of patience for it. Otherwise, you can definitely get someone else to do it for you, but it might cost you a little bit more money. Finally, the last main attraction that we tend to see in burlesque is the rhinestones. They are the creme de la creme, the main thing that everyone tends to have on their costume. Not everyone likes to have that super sparkle, so not everyone uses them, and that's perfectly okay. They can go from pretty affordable and cheap to a little bit more expensive, so you should be able to find rhinestones that are within your budget, depending on how much you use. If you're tactful and you use them intentionally with your costumes, then you can find some really good ones within your price range. They have different degrees of sparkle as well. They come in different sizes. You can get big ones and small ones, and they can have lots of sparkle and like really reflect light, or they can be just a little tiny little shimmer, which is really great depending on what you want to do with them, depending on the shape and where you get it from. They can either be plastic or jelly or glass. Most of us glue them onto our costumes. Some of them you can iron onto your costumes and that's fine, and some of them you can sew on. The main thing about rhinestones to keep in mind is that sometimes rhinestones can get a bit pricey, especially if you want to use them all the time. Now that I've been doing burlesque a little bit longer, I do like to be more intentional with how I rhinestone and how I add rhinestones to my costume. Or if I have a new act, it's really easy for me to just hide behind my spokel and my rhinestone, because an audience member will see that and be like, wow, look how spokely she is. She looks phenomenal and so glamorous, and maybe I don't have to actually focus on my performance. Of course I try to focus on my performance all the time, but for me it's really easy for me to hide behind spokel, especially if it's something that's not an act that I'm used to. So those are the most common ways that we tend to see people use spokel in burlesque. And for any show ponies out there, as I mentioned before, you don't have to spokel, you don't have to add rhinestones to be dynamic with your costuming. One of my favorite props that I have that comes out every Christmas since I've had it is my tinsel boa. Look how shiny it is. It just looks cool and it's cheap. I got it I think for $8 from a dollar store. Be careful because tinsel can cut you. I've gotten a couple of paper cuts from this and they were not fun, and it does shed, so be very conscious of what you want to do with it. You can also get some fabric that already has spokels on it. If you're somebody who is very lazy, I know I can be a lot of the time, it's really good to get fabric that might have sequins already attached to it, or this one has glitter, but like I mentioned before, the glitter is probably not going to last if I have this on a costume piece all night for a few months. If you don't want to spokel, maybe you want to shine. Ooh. Shiny fabric is also a way to stand out. It adds movement. There's a lot of things you can do with shiny fabric. You can make panels so that to add detail to a costume that might be not shiny and add focus to different areas. I like shiny fabric. Or maybe even that's too much. Another really easy way to kind of add shine or spokel or like kind of that glamour. Velvet is really fantastic as well. I have a pair of gloves that have this velvet in them and I love it. Personally, like anytime I see a performer with velvet on, I'm like, oh, I wanna stroke your costume. It looks so nice. Those are kind of the main things that I like to use for my burlesque costumes to make myself shiny or sparkly or just kind of stand out. Again, just to emphasize what I said before, you don't have to have spokel to be a legitimate burlesque performer. I know tons of performers who've won plenty of awards and have gotten into plenty of festivals with absolutely no rhinestones, no sequins. Burlesque is not something that you have to have one aesthetic, and the aesthetic is not spokel. It just happens to be a really big part of burlesque that a lot of us really like about it. Burlesque is great. You can do whatever you want with it. If you want to be spokely with rhinestones, you can be spokely with rhinestones. If you want to just be awesome and only have the audience focus on your bomb personality, power to you. Thank you for joining me today. This was a really fun video to make. I was kind of really excited to just throw glitter again. So if you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button down below. It helps other people to see my video more easily. And if you want to keep up with videos on burlesque, feel free to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you can be notified when I upload next. If you a performer, and if you have any comments of like what are your favorite things to use to spokel, or what are your opinions on it, do you even like to use rhinestones or spokel, do you prefer to not have anything, do you have any preference at all? I would love to hear your opinions down below on costumes and spokeling, just some things you might have picked up. Thank you again. I look forward to seeing you all next time. I hope you have a wonderful spokely day. Bye. So you couldn't really see the glitter in my opening scene, but oh, you can definitely see it in my robe. Ooh. There we go, proof that glitter does in fact spokel.